You're listening to episode 36, Friday the 13th, part 2, directed by Steve Miner. Is it better than the first? Let's find out in this episode of Video Velo Podcast. Wah, 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 wah. I got it right. I'm like the fifth cut of this. I hate catching names. Is it just funny?
I choked on my drink.
It was because it was funny.
If y'all missed it, I just choked on my drink. So sorry.
You said if you guys missed it, like you're not going to cut that out.
Yes, I will cut it out.
So what you guys did miss because we knowingly cut it out.
I don't think they want to see me spew propel from my mouth on the carpet.
I can cut that out too. Anyways, so as we continue with May There Be a Sequel in the month of May, we are carrying that on with Friday the 13th Part 2. So we reviewed Part 1 in episode, I don't know, like I think one of the earlier episodes.
It was maybe the second, it was the third video episode, I think.
Yeah. So
or the fourth video episode,
yeah,
whenever we went to video.
Yeah, so we revisited Beverly Hills Cop in our last episode and did Beverly Hills Cop 2. And with this one, we are doing Friday the 13th Part 2. And also, this marks a little bit less than 6 months till Halloween. So,
yay.
Hoorah.
When is Friday the 13th this year? I know you looked it up.
September 13th.
September. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Sunday in October.
Oh, gotcha. But that's not Friday then.
I know. I said in October.
Oh.
Friday the 13th is in September.
Okay.
Yeah. I was saying because I think it was last year Friday the 13th fell in October.
Oh, yeah. I think you're right about that one.
Because I know, so if anyone's ever interested, you can visit what is technically Crystal Lake in New Jersey. And last year was a really big thing because Friday the 13th fell on October. So we tried to book like an overnight stay in the cabins, but they were booked really far out. And again, this year they are booked very far out.
Yeah, and also it's quite a pretty penny too. But it's still fun and still like cool. Like I still want to do it.
Yeah,
whenever we can make it
one
work.
of the tours.
Yeah, the tour is still be cool. Yeah, because I know this one obviously part 2 takes place on a completely different camp. It's not in New Jersey. And I know it's funny because like I was watching some documentaries on it, and the owner of the camp wanted to make it very clear that you could not tell what camp was being used because they didn't want it to distinguish the happiness that the camp brings to children with it being associated with a horror movie.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that's just like so you can do the tours, but they are on stipulation of like actual campers, like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and stuff that go there. So they obviously have priority of the camp.
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny because even after after the movie came out, like he had nothing but like positive memories to say about the camp. Mm-hmm. The owner at that time doesn't currently own the camp, but he was the former owner of it or whatever. But there was some pretty cool. If you're looking, there's some really cool information, cool documentaries on YouTube. And then my DVD box set, I believe, has some really cool behind the scenes on it too as well. And they kind of like break up each movie and kind of the information. I really want the Shout Factory, and I will talk about the Shout Factory 4K box set. I do not have it yet. I wanted to get it, but it is just, I don't know. It's been in my like to buy list, like setting in a cart like forever. Eventually I will get it.
Do you want to make our little action figures fight?
My part 4 and part 2s here. Oh, another cool little shout out. My part 2, this is, it was NECA, but it's like not the newer one. It's one of the older ones. But if you are in the DMV area, a really cool toy shop. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, it's very, very, very cool. It's called Second Chance Toys. That's where I got this bad boy right here. Very cool place. So if you like into collecting and stuff like that, they are a one-stop shop. They've got everything from Marvel Legends to Toy Biz to McFarlane's to old school spawns, new school spawns. Got a bunch of NECA stuff. They also, I got over off screen, you can't see, but I have a really cool full moon collection that I've actually collected
We
from
need to
that
do like a
shop.
little vlog of like a tour of the loft.
Yeah, I mean it's small, but I'm sure it looks a little bit bigger on camera. But like, yeah,
It's
there's
got
a lot of stuff.
in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can't see from like the actual video or whatever. But
anyways,
but
moving
yeah,
on.
yeah. But anyway, cool. Check that place out if you're into collecting and you're in the DMV area. It's awesome place. I'll put information here on the video so y'all can check it out, and I'll also probably tag their Instagram in the comments.
There you go. But yeah, so I'll let Logan carry on with the facts about Friday the 13th part 2.
Was this the first time you've seen this
Yeah.
one? Okay, cool. So this one, we're going to get into we're going to get to the end, just like we did the last Beverly Hills Cop, to determine, if it was better than the original and so forth. So we're not going to talk about that just yet. But this movie, it's kind of like the black sheep of the franchise. It's that weird in between before we got the Jason here. I mean, this is 4, but in 3, aka 3D, that one is where we get Jason puts on his famous hockey mask. This one, we still have the sack, and then he's also like, at the very end shot of the mutilated face or whatever.
Yeah.
Very, it definitely gives me like Hills Have Eyes remake. You know what I mean? Like, it definitely still, like, from the remake, what they took inspiration from, like, or like Wrong Turn.
Yeah, I was going to say more Wrong Turn.
You can definitely feel like, okay, obviously they kind of ripped that off.
We should review Wrong Turn.
Yeah, I'd do that. I got the VHS over there.
I'd go back to it.
And then also, the same thing is because, like, even with this one, like the potato sack or whatever, that had been done before. Prior to this, the Town That Dreaded Sundown, the killer wears a potato sack. He has 2 holes in his eyes, but this one, he only has 1.
Yeah, why does it only have 1?
Because the other eye doesn't work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's all like
mutated and stuff. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. This film, when they went to start making it, literally 4 months after the release from the first one, they started production on this one.
Well, yeah, I feel like that's kind of common.
Well, I mean, not really, to be honest. Like, this was such a mega hit when it came out. And I really strongly, if you haven't watched our Friday 13th episode, go watch that. I'll put I don't know if it's here or here. One of these corners will be the little card that you can go to that and watch that episode. But hands down, Friday 13th is by far, I think, one of the best slashers of all time. It completely started a whole genre of camp-based slasher films.
Yeah. Did you have any like camps in your hometown? We have Camp Whippoorwill.
I went to church camp. I don't know where it was, but it was church camp.
Yeah, like down Mountain Road, we have Camp Whippoorwill, which is like in the woods on a little lake.
The camp I went to, it was far away, like far away. I remember it was like, everything feels a long time when you're in a car when you're little, but it felt like it was hours away. I remember being very fun. We did a lot of cool things, played baseball, camped outside. We did lazy rivering and stuff like that. So I remember fun things, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I did Girl Scout camp.
Oh, how was that?
Just like one night.
Oh, one night.
Yeah.
God. This was a week.
No.
Not like an entire week, like entire summer or anything like that. Just 1 week.
I would have got homesick.
I remember because
they're lucky they got one night.
Oh, you didn't call your parents when you were there? I don't want to go home now.
No, there's no phones there.
Oh, they have phones? Oh, well, they have phones where we were.
Yeah, no, but like the little camp counselor people or like the head Girl Scout ladies had like their little like flip phones and stuff. But yeah.
Knowing you had cell phones when I went.
Yeah.
I mean, there were cell phones, but no one had them. And they weren't that readily available because I was pretty young when I went. I mean, I was still losing my teeth when I went. So.
Well, yeah, I guess you still lose your teeth like through elementary school and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess that's the same age as Girl Scouts. I have a really cute picture of me in Girl Scouts. I got a picture for everything.
All right, well, back to the movie. Do you have a picture of it? Is it readily available?
Yeah,
All right,
we'll put it here.
I'll put it here. But yeah, so this movie started production 4 months after the ending of the first film, and it went under the codename Jason. Stan Winston was originally signed on to do the special effects, but due to scheduling concerns, he wasn't actually able to fulfill it. So they actually got Carl Fullerton. Fullerton. They got Carl Fullerton to actually do the special effects of Jason and so forth. And he was relatively new at the time. They originally actually went to Tom Savini. And Tom Savini kind of like turned it down because he rather did the burning. And he got to look at the script. He's like, well, which is a lot of people's concerns. He wasn't the only person, but a lot of people were like, how are you going to do a sequel based on a movie where everyone in the movie dies but one person? What's the driving force? This didn't make sense. And then the same thing, like, Tom Savini was like, didn't understand. He's like, okay, it's codenamed Jason. Jason's dead. What do you mean it's codenamed Jason? No one really understood it. And that's kind of like another reason why this is technically the black sheep of the franchise. Also, the continuity of the franchise isn't the best continuity in the world. Mm-hmm. They always go back and forth with certain things. Like the first one's Friday the 13th, but technically there's no proof that it actually took place on a Friday the 13th. In this film, they stated it did take place on Friday the 13th, but something with the dates actually wasn't Friday 13th based off the 1979 or whatever. So there is some kind of wishy-washy stuff going back between the different films in the franchise, but overall, it's just a driving force. If you got, eventually now you have Jason and he just keeps on showing up killing people.
Yeah.
And that's just the driving force of the franchise, except for the one where it wasn't Jason and it was another whodunit, which a lot of people didn't like it. But then there's also a lot of people that like that one because it was fresh. It was different. It was something new. Brought us back to the original Who Did It. And I think who did it.
Who done it? Who did it?
Well, I think I like that kind of stuff. I like that. You know what I mean?
I was just talking about how you said done it and then did it.
Whatever. Who done it? Who did it? Whatever.
Guess who?
So another cool fun fact. So unfortunately, the VHS that I have and even the DVDs that I have here, they both have a very tamed version of the film. And a lot of the ratings board cut out a lot of the gore from this film. To be honest, I've seen the scenes, and I'll use the scenes and describe them once we go through the movie. But like, as far as like the gore, like it wasn't a crazy amount cut out. When you think about things being cut out, it wasn't like, it didn't completely ruin the movie.
Yeah.
It definitely didn't feel as edgy as the first one.
Yeah, it just dialed it down.
Yeah. But I think, see, here's the thing. When something gets so freaking big, it causes more eyes to go to it. So I wouldn't be doubt because of the success for the first one and how much outrage the first one got, they probably didn't, I wouldn't doubt it that they doubled down on the second one and be like, all right. Because the rating board and stuff like that, it doesn't make sense. A lot of people don't understand it. And it really does. It's just people looking at it saying like, okay, this is too much. This is too much. There's a really cool documentary series about the entire franchise where eventually it got to the point where I don't remember if it was 7 or 6, where they discussed that they used to do so much ridiculous gore and over the top because they knew once it was asked to be recut, they would recut it to the
level that they wanted.
Exactly. Yeah, because they started trying to like figure out.
It's almost like betting. Bet high and then you settle where you actually
Exactly.
don't mind
Exactly. Because, I mean, most of the scenes that we got are very close to what the original cuts were, except for one scene was really tamed. I mean, really, really really, really cut.
Yeah.
But when I say really cut, I mean, let's do like probably like, another like 5 seconds. But in that 5 seconds, you really do miss some of the beauty of the setup. But by bringing it back to the Shout Factory release, then 2020, Carl Fullerton had original copy of VHS of the original cut of the film. And they were able to take that and then they were able to scan it and like 4K scan it and add it back to the film. And so with that release of the 2020 release, you're able to actually see the actual real scenes as they were intended to. And I like I said, I don't have it, but I did look it up online, and it's pretty cool. Like I said, like the things that were cut, it's not understandable. I really don't understand why they were cut. I think it was just them being nitpicky. And like I said, the first one did so much. They just had a big sign on the back of their, like, oh, how dare you make a sequel to this movie that people were already protesting and thought was trash to begin with.
Yeah.
Happens a lot with horror films. And this one, Jason was actually played by 5 people. And 2 of the main Jasons. So the 2 main Jasons you see, the main Jason at the end of the film, which is with the face prosthetics. That was Warrington Gillett. He was the main Jason.
Yeah.
When I say main Jason, meaning visual, you can tell it's him. But the stuntman Steve Dosowicz, he was actually the one that we get most in the movie. He's actually every time there's a sack on the head, that's basically him. It was kind of cool, but the first time we see Jason, he's actually played by a woman. The costume designer was there that day, and they needed just a shot of footsteps walking up to Alice's house. Yeah, well, Alice's house, not the cabin.
Oh, yeah.
So she just put on the boots and the overalls or whatever, and they just took that little shot. So it's kind of funny, like the very times you actually really see Jason, he's played by a woman. That was a kind of cool little fun fact. In this one, we do get a new protagonist. Alice, basically, as everyone knows, she gets pretty much killed off at the very beginning of the film. There's a lot of rumors, but the main thing that I found that they believed to be true was that Alice's agent wanted way too much money. And they basically just said they were going to write her out of the film. The actress said she never even got a script. She showed up on set and had no idea what they were going to do to her character until they explained on set. So her entire scenes that weren't even scripted. Mm. She had all that dialogue was improv, and she basically just showed up and they were like, okay, this is what's going to happen. And they just told her to run with it.
And then you're done.
Pretty much. I mean, it does suck because that happens a lot where, the first one did so well. And like I said, there's a lot of rumors because there's 3 different stories you can run with, but the one that seemed to consistent with a lot of people was the fact that just it was a money issue. And they're like, okay, well, we don't need her back that bad. We'll just kill her off and just rewrite a new storyline. Mm-hmm. I was doing the math with this one, and if my math is correct, so basically, if we realize that the first part of the the ending of the first film is a dream sequence, they did stated that Jason was never he didn't come back to life or whatever in the first one. They stated there was written that he was always dead.
Yeah.
Which also, if you watch the end of the first one, it wouldn't make sense for him to, it wouldn't make sense for him to still be a child to come out of the water. If he was a grown man and coming out of the water, that would make more sense for the sequel to go on.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not what happened. And they also, when they were writing the first one, they weren't intending to make a sequel.
Yeah.
They were very fortunate to be able to make a huge successful franchise. But yeah, so with everything being said, based off of when he died, and if this Jason here is the current Jason that, as the storyline goes, viewed his mother's killing and came back, he would be around 38 to 39, whatever his birthday might be, whatever. So it wouldn't make sense if he didn't die and he did come back. Some of that I can grab on that. It would make some sort of sense. But the director Steve Miner, he has a successful career. I mean, he came back and did part 3, which I think part 3 is really good. Mm-hmm. He did House, which is another good horror movie. I think.
I thought you were talking about the show.
No. He did Warlock, which is good. He did Big Bully with Tom Arnold, which was really good. He did Halloween H2O. So he's definitely, he's got his experience in slashers. He also did a movie called Soul Man. which is it's not the best movie to today's standards. It's where a white man is turned black. Yeah, he lives life in being a black man's shoes. It's a very dated 80s movie. Not the best.
Sure, there's plenty.
But did you that's a lot of cool stuff that we were going to get into more when we start to actually go into the film.
Yeah.
Did you want to read the batch of the VHS?
Yeah. Just when you thought it was safe to go back to camp, here's even more heart-pounding terror. 5 years after the horrible bloodbath at Camp Crystal Lake, all that remains is the legend of Jason Voorhees and his demented mother, who had murdered 7 camp counselors. At a nearby summer camp, the new counselors are unconcerned about the warnings to stay away from the infamous site. Carefree, the young people roam the area, not sensing the ominous lurking presence. One by one, they are attacked and brutally slaughtered. Suspense and screams abound in this compelling chiller. Dun, dun, dun. I can't make the sound, the actual beat.
Yeah, so the movie starts off right off where we left off. We get a cool little flashback sequences, which the franchise was very well known for doing it back then. A lot of times this is 81, so really in-home VHS wasn't really as popular and big at that time because it's still early in the career, because I think it was around 85 or something like that is when actual video stores for rental were starting to really boom.
Yeah.
And so you're looking at these films did a really good job at cueing you in. If you didn't see the first one, or if you didn't see the last one, that first 10 minutes was usually just catching you up to base, which is kind of like what TV shows do.
Yeah.
I actually like that in movies and stuff like that.
Well, it also used to be helpful when you had cable and say your one show came out every Thursday night at 8. That preview of last week was just a nice refresher, so they could pick up where they left off essentially.
Yeah, I will say
those are useful.
What was really useful being a kid was the freaking the X-Men series. X-Men series. It was, I believe, it was if I was for sure, it was the first major animated series to have a continuous storyline that didn't stop when the episode ended and started.
Yeah, they weren't mini series or mini stories.
No. It was one continuously long storyline, and every single episode at the beginning of it led you into what happened the last 3 episodes, the last 10 episodes, or whatever. Or if it was the new season, it caught you up what happened last season, because you kind of really needed it, because that show went really deep. I'm just saying, the story was just one huge long storyline, which that became a norm. But that was when the first animated cartoon shows that actually did something like what movies would do and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Logan said, so we're at Alice's house essentially. So you get you get the throwback, and then you get a scene of Alice pretty much having a nightmare, you realize. So she's having flashbacks, but then also there's clips of Jason, or 2 boots and a pair of jeans, walking throughout the neighborhood, kind of towards what you would assume is her house.
Which is kind of big. So you're telling me Jason has left the forest.
Yeah.
And he has
he's no longer restricted to the camp, and now he's getting revenge for his, you would assume, his mother.
Yeah, he has left there and he is hunting down Alice, which is pretty cool if you think about it. He's leaving the camp. So that fact of he only stays in the camp. See, I used to, when I was little, I'll mind y'all, I was a scaredy cat. And I used to, that is what
Let it rip.
saved me from having these horrible thoughts when I was little.
You're this thing can't be, it only happens here. It
Exactly.
Only happens there.
So I would think about Jason. I was like, okay, well, he only comes out on Friday 13th. So most of the year,
Michael
I'm
Myers,
fine.
Halloween.
Exactly. I would never get scared. The only person who scared the shit out of me was freaking Freddy Krueger, because every night you dream. So there is no hiding from Freddy.
Yeah.
Which I think that's what makes him so freaking scary, because everyone dreams. But that's a whole nother franchise.
But also, wasn't Sandman a whole dream thing?
Sandman?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a comic book.
Yeah. I thought there was some, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Sandman, that's the DC Vertigo comic line. Yeah, it was like Dreams. I mean, the original one was like, I mean, a guy with like a special gun that would make you fall asleep or whatever. But like, I mean, we did watch some of the Sandman series, and that was like Dreams and stuff like that. But I mean, there's probably folk tale about Sandman. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Nonetheless, so Alice is having a nightmare, and she ends up waking up from it because I think her mom's calling. It's the phone that's ringing that wakes her up.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, she
Yeah.
wakes up and she's
Takes a shower.
hysterical.
Yeah. Then she ends up taking a shower, and she talks to her mom. She's trying to convince her mom that, she just, this is what she needs to do for herself. She needs to be alone. That's how she can get better from everything that happened to her. And then you get your first jump scare because she's like, kind of jump scare. She's standing in the kitchen, and mind you, you've like seen what you would assume is Jason walking through the neighborhood to her house. But a stray cat that I guess she's just feeding jumps through her window and startles her as she's trying to make either like coffee or tea. I don't know. She's boiling water.
Probably for tea.
Yeah. And then that's when she opens the fridge to get something for the cat. I don't know, food or whatever.
Probably milk, I guess.
Yeah, milk. And that's when you see Jason Voorhees' mother's head in her fridge.
And then this is 2 months. 2 months since the first one, because she makes it adamant while she's talking to her mom. It's been 2 months. It's whatever. So you got a half decaying head in the fridge. And
we'll
then
post a picture here. I still have the picture of it.
Yeah, and then this is when this scene was cut. This scene was cut. Mind you, when I say cut, you're talking about like 2 seconds probably. But in that 2 seconds,
I forgot to say she gets killed as she opens the fridge.
Yeah, she gets stabbed with
forgot the whole point of this long story.
She gets stabbed in the temple with the ice pick, and when she actually, after she gets stabbed, she actually looks at the camera, and you see it come out the other side. Which is sound like, really, you had to cut that? Is that really that bad?
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like, it's some of these cuts, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Especially like there's movies, and I'm going to get to them later, but there's movies that came out this same year with far more gore in it.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it was Friday 13th. All eyes were on them. So I think people just doubled down when they actually, when they're actually viewing their movie, because I think, it could be something to do with like the ratings board.
Well, it also could be on Paramount. Know what I mean? Like
no,
that.
it's not. No, it's the ratings board is like a movie would view, and then people would like.
I understand the ratings board is.
Well, I'm just saying, like they would say, like, okay, this isn't equivalent for our rating.
Okay.
If they were like, oh, we got to make cuts,
Yeah,
because we can't have an X-rated movie.
Yeah,
because then you can't advertise it and so forth. So our protagonist from the original, which was very cool. It does suck that she does die, but we do get a cool new protagonist.
Yeah,
with Jenny.
Yeah, is it Jenny or Ginny?
Jenny, I guess it is Jenny. If it's
your accent throws it off.
Jenny, I don't know. Yeah, I guess
those are two different names.
Well, is it
Ginny, like gin, and then Jenny with a J?
Okay, it is definitely Jenny because it's spelled with G-I-N-N-Y, so it's Jenny.
Yeah,
it's not
Jenny.
It's definitely Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny, not Jenny.
What am I saying?
Welcome to a day in our life.
Am I not saying Jenny?
You're, I think, saying Jenny.
Jenny. Like you said Jen.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, not Jen.
Okay, yeah.
Jenny.
Yes, there we go.
All right.
Anyways, so obviously you get that kill, and then it moves forward to the town of Crystal Lake because it is time for new counselors to go back to the camp. Or what is like a new section of the camp.
So basically, it is another camp that just shares the same length that Crystal Lake shared.
Yeah, it shares the land on a different section of the woods. So you get your you got your view into a past character, which was Alice, and now you get Crazy Ralph's speech to the counselors, which you also got in one where he tells them not to go down there, beware, and people just like write him off as he's just like some kooky neighborhood guy.
Yeah, this one really does. I mean, it starts off like, okay, it starts off with
the same gist.
Yeah. Here's some new characters. They're making
they're
their
all
way.
playful.
They're making their way to the camp, and obviously, we have these camp counselors this time, and this time it is a camp that is training counselors for other camps, not for this camp, but they're just training counselors.
Before they were trying to revamp the property to have camp there.
Yeah, this is because this is a completely different, like I said, they share the area, but it is not the actual campgrounds because those are all boarded off. No one's allowed there. And they all know the story of Camp Blood because this is 5 years past the first film. So 5 years after we just saw Alice get murdered.
Yeah. So on their way there, Jeff, Sandra, and Ted see the old Camp Crystal Lake sign as they're, driving through the wooded area, getting to the campsite.
Yeah, there's a tree had fell down, and basically they were moving the tree, and that's where they see it on the side of the road, which is cool. Because the guy who owned the camp, he actually has 2 pieces of memorabilia left over from the film. He has that sign, and they left him when they left the camp. They go, they wrote him a nice letter, like, we left you something in the woods, and they left him the prosthetic head of Mrs. Voorhees. And he said, now that documentary was relatively old, so probably like mid 2000s or something like that. So I don't know if the guy's still around or still with us or whatever. But he said at that point in time, he goes, "Oh, I still have them," and people have offered to sell to buy them off me, and I said I will not sell because he says even though he was scared of this happening and
the ramifications of it.
Of his camp, even with all that happening, he said he had an incredible time. And he said he had nothing but the best memories of this film being made and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So as they arrive to the camp, we meet the camp counselors and you kind of get them all like arriving and interacting with each other.
Yeah, we get the first people. I mean, we get people showing up. So we get Jeff, Sandra, and Ted showing up, and then it cuts over to Terry is another camp counselor. She's walking through the woods, and then we get Scott, which is a complete pervert.
Yeah,
he shoots
but
her.
He's obviously he's the head guy. No, not Scott. Paul.
Yeah. He shoots Terry in the ass with a slingshot, and then he just looks at her all like, "No, dude," and it's like, dude, you're fucking perv, man. Like, did you really think that was gonna work? If I shot Becca in the ass with anything, I'd be walking with a limp. I swear to God, you guys. There is
blink twice if you need help.
But yes, I will not talk about the tickle situation that happened last week, but my ribs still hurt.
Shut up. I shouldn't tell you to shut up. Be quiet. Hush it over there. Why I oughta.
It's like the honeymooners, but reverse. You beat me.
I don't beat you. Why are you laughing? I don't hurt Logan.
She does not beat me. She slaps me. I'm done. The joke's over.
I don't slap him. No, that would be abuse. It can go both ways.
But yeah.
Nonetheless, I'll just take over. You just hush up. Nonetheless, Ginny.
I get it, Ginny. Yeah. Ginny.
Yes.
I got
just
it.
Don't say it too fast because then it comes out as Jenny.
Okay.
But Ginny shows up in her red bug. And Paul obviously has some sort of thing for Ginny.
Well, I think they're dating. I mean, they're definitely they make out a lot and fool around. I think they literally are dating. Because that's another thing is obviously you can tell they've been kept in touch because when she doesn't show up, he's like, "I worried about you."
Yeah, he sounds sarcastic when he said it though.
No, he said it, but then I think he was trying to be seductive,
charming,
or whatever.
Yeah.
And then she was just and then that's what she told him to. I can't remember. She said something
so she's
"You're
told
bullshit,
to,
Paul."
Yeah, but she's told to move her car because they're about to have their little meeting or whatever. And then she complains that her car is sick.
That's why she was late.
We'll work on it. Yeah, that's why she was late. Is her car is sick. But actually, her car really does have issues running. And as Paul is saying his hellos to her, you find out that Ginny is a child psychologist. And I just want to say, the moment they said that, I'm like, oh, they're gonna involve this somehow.
Well, that happens all the time. Movies, something's brought up to come up later.
Yeah, something comes up in the beginning, and it's a vital thing later on in the movie.
Yeah, that's why they say it. So
Yeah.
so it doesn't come out of left
It's
ball field.
foreshadowing.
Yeah, so it doesn't come out of left ball field when they're like, wait a second, why the fuck are you talking about this? You know what I mean?
So now they all, like, Ginny moves her car, Paul gets it somewhat running for her, and now they have a campfire where they're telling, or Paul is telling a story about Jason.
Yeah, he's
kind of
telling
just like a ghost story.
Yeah, he's telling the legend of Jason, and
Did you
basically
ever do those when you were younger?
ghost stories.
Yeah.
I
got too scared.
No, I always wanted a cool ghost story to be told, and like when we had, I went to camp at least 2 years, and I don't recall hearing having any like cool ghost stories or anything like that. Like, you know, like that would have been cool, but I think the fact that like a ghost story, somebody telling me something doesn't really seem that eerie, because it's just, I don't know, I don't. It sounds weird because like I don't get creeped out by that.
No, I get that. Yeah.
Now, but I can listen.
You need the visual.
But with that being said, I can listen to a book on tape.
Now that you're older, yeah.
Yeah, and then because I like the beginning.
I know the Stephen King ones.
Well, the beginning of The Stand, how the beginning of the movie opens up. Mind you, I was listening to this during COVID, and you
also dove into Chernobyl for some reason.
Oh my God, that was horrible.
Asking for
that was. Well, that had nothing to do with COVID, but the thing.
No, I meant asking for depression.
Yeah, but the thing is,
you weren't asking for COVID.
But the thing was, the Stand, how it opens up was very similar to how, well, not very similar, but it was scary because it was almost like really close to home.
Yeah,
about what was going on.
Yeah,
you know, now like that's just the beginning of the book. But if you've read that book, that opening,
if you know, you know,
it's rough. Like it's rough. So rough I had to put it down or hit pause and not come back to it.
Yeah. Delete that off my Audible.
But yeah, he's telling the story of Jason, and he's basically describing everything that currently happens. So in this storyline, Jason did not die. That was just a dream that Alice had. Jason has been alive all this time. Still kind of doesn't make sense as how Jason is alive, but yet Mrs. Voorhees doesn't know Jason is alive.
Yeah.
And if he loves his mama so much, why would he hide from his mama?
Yeah.
Doesn't really make sense, but you know, whatever.
Yeah. And you get a fake out scare, where what's
Ted.
His name?
Yeah, Ted, he has a creepy mask and a spear and stuff like that.
Yeah, and he jumps out of the woods as Paul's telling the story and spooks everybody. However, you also get your first kill following this, which is Ralph, who dies.
Yeah, he basically Ralph.
I don't recall how everyone has died, but
Ralph.
I recall the wheelchair. I recall Scott and.
So Ralph was basically looking at, like doing what he does, creep on people, just like in the first one. And he is standing by a tree. And that's where he gets. Yeah. This one was edited. Not a lot needed to be edited, really. It's they just like literally. If he gets choked for 3 seconds, he got choked for 6 seconds.
Yeah.
So they just cut like a couple, like I guess more of the gasping for air part.
Yeah.
They kind of like cut away from that. I mean, the kill's not the best in the franchise, to be honest.
None of these were really like crazy or eventful kills.
To be honest, like
they were really slow paced.
I feel bad because I don't know, like
we'll get to our
they're not as good as the first.
You're not going to hurt anyone's feelings.
I know, but I don't like.
We're also supposed to do this at the end, so hold it.
Okay.
Hold it in.
All
right. So then you move forward to the next day, and you start to get a lot of like Jason's point of view. So as if he's he's holding the camera and recording his view. And him
just like in the first one. The first
one
was always we saw the eyes of the killer, and every time that you're seen through the eyes of the killer, you hear the or the whatever.
Yeah.
I still listen to the first one this time. It doesn't sound like kill. It sounds like ch-ch. But in the second one, which the same guy came back to do the score, it definitely does sound like it definitely sounds like kill in this one. But I was saying the original, it didn't. I don't know. That's just me though. That's my little my ears telling me.
So Terry also, it was Terry that had muffins, right?
Yeah, it's Terry. Muffins is Terry's dog.
Yeah.
Scott was playing, in the third movie, he's like dancing with her. He's like, I can't find a lady. I'll just dance with
Yeah.
you, Muffins.
So unfortunately, as much as I'm against this, you get an idea that Muffins runs away, and it's not to become like Jason's little co-killer. It's because he kills the dog.
Would you prefer that?
Yeah.
Just Muffin falling around.
Imagine if you could just buy this little NECA toy and it was just holding a little Muffins
It'd be funny.
as his little co.
You know what? That would be pretty interesting. Like before,
And then it becomes a killer dog.
that would,
Small
to
Cujo.
be honest, that's pretty interesting. Think about it. Before someone dies
If any
on,
of you take this idea, I've trademarked it.
if,
Gotta go.
if anyone, what's called, were to before they died, if it'd be crazy if all of a sudden Muffin just came out of nowhere. They hear the jingle and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
Muffins. And then Jason kills them.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I actually would like to see that.
Yeah. So he shouldn't have killed Muffins because it's too late now. Nonetheless, that's not what Jason wanted to do. He just killed the dog. So he's a dog killer too. Bitch, does Michael Myers ever kill any dogs?
Yes. He killed a dog in the first one.
Oh, yeah. I
Killed the
forgot.
dogs from barking out back.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
guard dogs. Does Freddy kill any dogs?
There's mutated, weird, nasty looking dogs in the movie, in the second movie that are at the steam
Yeah, in
plant or whatever.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, obviously all the pigs and the chickens and the
Well,
whatever,
yeah, but
whatever's
he's
going
a
on
butcher,
in
yeah.
that basement. Yeah. Okay. Well, one
A
day
dog dies.
Yeah, one day I'll find a killer that doesn't kill a dog. Just give me a damn minute. I'll figure it out. Anyways, so Muffins runs away, and it's kind of, you don't really know what has happened, but you can assume.
Yeah, it cuts to a scene of hot dogs, which is kind of funny because
Yeah.
he's a dog and cuts a hot dog.
Yeah.
A little clever
Hysterical.
there. Hysterical.
So while that is happening, two of the campers, Jeff and Sandra, by Sandra doing the convincing, decide to try to make their way over to Crystal Lake to just look around. See what's going on.
Ever since she shows up and sees a Crystal
She's
Lake
obsessed
sign,
with
she's
it.
been obsessed with it. Yeah.
And she's determined to just go see what's over there. And Jeff is really against it, but she ends up convincing him, like, they're just going to go there and they're going to come right back. It'll be fine. So they pass over the little, barbed wire gate or whatever and make their way over to the Crystal Lake portion of the camp, or the Camp Blood portion of the camp.
Yeah, and then that's when they find said dead dog, which, okay, they're looking at this thing. Obviously, it's a dog, and it's white. And they're like, I don't know what it is. It should be a dog. You're like, you tell me you don't know it's Muffins?
Well, I think they were pretending to not know because they didn't want to tell Terry.
Why would they pretend to not know but with themselves, though? That's the only private conversation. I wouldn't pretend not to know something if I didn't want to tell someone else if I'm talking to you.
Unspoken, I don't know what that was. Do you know what that was? I don't know either. Moving on.
I don't know. That's not the way I took it. But anyway, okay.
Maybe. I don't know. Nonetheless, they find the dead dog, and then shortly after that, they get caught by a cop because they were trespassing. Camp Blood is to not have anybody over there. And apparently they have been very, very firm with Paul about that.
Yeah,
so
they've
the
brought it up
cops
to his
take
attention
them
a
back
lot.
to the. So the cops take Sandra and Jeff back to the camp and kind of ream Paul out for his campers being over there.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. This part is a little funny because Paul's just not having any of it. And they're like, Paul tells Jeff and Sandra, he's like, all right, y'all go back to your cabin or whatever. He's like, that's it. There's no repercussions.
cop.
He says, hey,
Jenny, don't give him any dessert tonight.
don't give him a second serving of dessert
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah. So obviously Paul's just not taking it serious. He's just kind of like, whatever. So they decide that, a few of the campers are all going to go out. However, Sandra and Jeff have to stay behind because, one, there's not enough room. There's only 2 cars. And 2, because they obviously did something they weren't supposed to do. So there is some sort of repercussions.
Yeah, and this is
for it.
certainly the last night they can go into town before they go in full training mode for the season.
Yeah. So Terry also stays back, which also means Scott stays back because Terry's staying back. And as well as, who's the guy in the wheelchair?
Mark.
Yeah, Mark, and then
Vicky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Mark
can't
and
remember
Vicky.
Everybody's names.
Yeah, Mark and Vicky stay back too as well. And man, you can freaking it just progresses, but like you can just tell like
Vicky
Vicky
really likes
she
Mark.
really likes Mark. She's all over Mark.
Yeah.
And like, and then like we get to a little bit more we'll get to the scene later, but like yeah, she is definitely funny because it was funny because the like, actor that plays Mark, it was an openly gay actor, and the actress that played Vicky, I guess she didn't know. And so she was actually like
She missed the
legitimately
memo.
she was legitimately like flirting with him on set.
Mm.
And he was just like, "Hey, I just want to let you know it's not going to happen.
Don't swing that way." It happens. So while everyone heads out to the bars for a night out on town, Terry decides to go skinny dipping, which is just like so random. I don't know, she's just going skinny dipping by herself.
Yeah, and this is also like, mind you, this is like, yes, there's a little bit of nudity in this one. This is before we get full, like before the franchise went from like just boot, tits and ass and just gory murders. Like I said, this is definitely, it's on par with the first. It just doesn't hit the same as the first. There's a lot of cool things that are happening in this storyline, and I still think it's a good upscale horror film. Like I do think it's not just like ridiculous nonsense. There are some more scenes. There's some cool scenes I really want to get into it. I think they did really well in the film. So I definitely think it should be respected and so forth. But this is before we really get to that schlocky mess that's associated with the Friday the 13th franchise.
Yeah,
which is everyone's just getting naked for no reason and stuff like that.
Anyways, so Terry goes skinny dipping. While she's skinny dipping, Scott takes her clothes and tries to run and hide. And Terry obviously finds out that was him and chases him into the woods. And he ends up getting caught in a noose, essentially, and is like strung upside down from a tree.
Yeah, he got caught in a trap. They think it was Ted, his jokes, but I think it actually was like, I think to my the way I interpret it, I'm like, no, Jason set that up. I think Jason definitely set that up.
Got as well. So Terry tells him, if you stop doing these things, then stop being a creep, I will cut you loose or whatever. So he agrees to it and gives her clothes back. And while she's away, Jason kind of just like comes up and just slits his throat.
Yeah, he cuts his throat with the machete. This scene was definitely edited because it's the gist of the scene is the same. Is there more violence? Not necessarily. There is a lot more blood, and he's like, you see him actually like choking on his blood. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. It does suck that they took that out of the film. But I mean, still a good scene. I think some of the scenes that were cut, I feel like if they were left in, it could be, it could have the same impact that the first one had. But I do think some of the cut scenes that they cut, for the gore, basically, I think that does hurts it a little bit when we want to compare it to the first one.
Yeah.
But still a cool kill. Yeah. I'll give them that.
So then Terry finally finds her knife and her packaged stuff and goes to cut Scott loose. However, she finds out that he's dead, and then you get like another point of view as Jason, and Terry turns around and screams, and then you can just assume that it's because she got killed.
Yeah, it does suck because we do see her killed off camera.
Yeah,
it does suck that we didn't we didn't get an actual death scene of some sort there. So now after this kill, they go back to they go to the bar. Yeah. And that's where we got Paul, Jenny, and Ted. And basically Jenny brings back up the Jason legend, and she starts to
kind of understand it or reason with it.
Yeah, she starts to try to break it down using her, the psychology major that she is, using the things that she'd learned in school, and was like, what if this was real? No, and they're like, it's a legend. No, hold on a second. But it could be real. Yeah. You know what I mean? She's like, what? And she's breaking it down like, what if that's all he knew and he saw his mom get murdered? So, of course, he will want to come back and murder the person who saw it.
Because he wouldn't have the mental capacity to really know right from wrong.
Yeah, and they say he could be like a mentally challenged. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what death is. So it would if for him to kill someone, he wouldn't have any remorse.
It wouldn't have the same emotional hold that it would someone that is of a mental capacity to truly understand the ramifications of killing someone.
Exactly. And then he also she goes down to breaking down Mrs. Voorhees. He's like, well, that's all she had. That was her soul, and that was taken away from her. Do you blame her to go out there and want want to kill the people that that were the cause of her son's death.
Yeah.
So it's, it is like,
and then you start to really lean into the fact of like, okay, she like, this is going to, so this is now the second time that this has kind of come up.
Yeah.
Now it's gone a little bit more in depth. So you know that there's going to be another time that this comes up.
Yeah, we're going to definitely see.
You're foreshadowing again.
Yeah, which I don't mind it. Like, I do like the younger me when I saw this, because I think I saw this maybe 14, because I saw the first one when I was around 13, or believe something like that. And then I think I was probably 14. I saw it on HBO one night, or it could have been Encore or Cinemax or something like that. And when I'm watching at that age, I couldn't give two. I couldn't give two shits about that. I mean, as an adult now watching, I'm like, hey, she's got something here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's good writing. I think I think this is a good plot device, and to be honest, I do like it.
Yeah. So you flip back to the camp, and Vicky and Mark are playing games, but they're kind of flirting, and Vicky lets Mark know that, she would like to hook up with him, and they agreed to it. So she goes back to her cabin to clean herself up and, get ready to, have a night with Mark, essentially.
I like my note better.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wrote in the notes, back at the camp, Vicky is thirsty for her some Mark. And Becca was like, what does that mean? I'm like, it means what it means.
I know what it means, but I'm like, okay. We all know what's going on. Beautiful notes from your mind itself. So they start like flirting because they're playing a little card game. And ultimately, while Vicky is back at her cabin getting ready, Jason kills Mark while he is waiting for Vicky. So Mark goes out on like the patio.
Yeah, Vicky goes off to get fresh for Mark and stuff like that. We do get some funny banter with her, like talking like, hey, how did you lose? How did you lose your legs? And stuff.
Like, did you lose all feeling down there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he's like, I do pretty good and stuff like that. And it's funny because Mark always talks about, I'm training. And she's like, she finally says what we all think, what are you training for? And he doesn't even say what he's training for.
Yeah.
But so she tries to go get fresh. And while he is waiting for her to come back, he rolls outside because now it's starting to rain. And he's hearing some stuff in the distance. He does not sure. And then this is when he gets hacked in the face with the machete.
And then rolls backward down the steps.
So this scene was edited a little bit. Basically what we got was kind of like a more sped up version of it. Mm-hmm. And in the original cut, it's a lot slower and you get more screen time with face and machete. It's not like a screen time of like the hack itself, but you just get to see him.
The wound.
Yeah. And I think that once again, you're kind of like you're rushing these cuts rush through the kills, and everyone's there for the kill, so it definitely hurts a little bit.
Yeah, makes sense. Like why that would make it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
So then Jason heads upstairs and kills Jeff and Sandra, who are having sex, and he pretty much just like kills both of them at once, like right through the bed.
So yeah, he spears them with the spear. This is the scene I was telling you earlier. This is the scene that is completely just cut a lot. Like we actually see his back get penetrated with the spear. It goes through his body, her body.
I thought you were gonna say through his butt.
It goes right through his butt. Right up it. Yeah. And then he pulls it out, then stabs him again in the back. No, I'm joking. But anyway.
Obviously, I know you're joking.
So it goes through, and we see the spear hit the ground, blood coming out of the bed. And then it just starts pulling up around his back. You see a lot more squirming. The scene, technically, they say it was ripped off from the nerve twit. Oh, shoot. Sorry. Well, it's got two names. I know it as Bay of Blood, Mario Bava's Bay of Blood, because that happens in Mario Bava's Bay of Blood. That's from the 70s, so it predates this. Which is a very good movie. If you haven't seen Bay of Blood, go watch it. It is great. I believe it's still on Tubi now. It's got a great ending scene. But when they were interviewed during the documentary, everyone was like, Sean Cunningham was like, I haven't seen it. So everyone I haven't seen that movie. So they it's still some people, more than one person can have the same idea,
Yeah.
without it being associated
You
with
can only
anything
kill
else.
people in so many ways.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it makes sense too because they already pre-established the spear
Yeah.
earlier in the film, so it makes sense that he would use that to kill somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, this is one of the scenes that was heavily cut.
Yeah.
And it was probably the best kill of the entire film that we only get to see for a brief second.
Yeah. So, then Vicky returns and heads upstairs thinking that Mark is upstairs, and she sees Sandra and Jeff, and that's also when Jason kills her as well.
Yeah, he cuts her in the leg, and then we see him stab her. But this is a scene I really like. I love the POV scene of him holding the knife.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that he's got that mashed thumb bruise, blister or whatever. I just think that I was like, yes, that looks cool.
Yeah.
Like that's really like, for some reason, that scene really amplifies the threat and effectiveness of Jason. I really like that scene really well.
Yeah, because a bruised thumb is very threatening.
No, but
they do hurt.
It does hurt, but it makes
No, I meant when you bruise your thumb.
I'm just saying, like, when his thumb is completely mashed, and that's a real. I mean, that's obviously that's the real stunt, man. And I just feel like it adds more to Jason's brutality character or whatever you want to call it. So unfortunately, Vicky gets it.
Yeah.
Now we're cut back to Paul and Jenny are going to return back to the camp. Ted's going to stay back and continue to drink himself silly. Basically, they show up to the camp. No one's there. They're calling out people's names, and they're like, "Well, what's going on? Where'd everyone go?" They start walking up the stairs, and then they find the bed covered in blood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's called? Sandra and Jeff aren't there. And they're like, what's going on here? So they go to head downstairs. Then the lights go off. But it's not the main breaker because some of the lights are still working. Only certain lights are going off or whatever. So they go to investigate, and then Jenny is like, I don't feel right, Paul. Something's weird. And she's like, someone's in the cabin,
she
Paul.
said, someone's here.
Someone's here. And then all of a sudden, Jason comes out of nowhere. Like it is kind of silly because it's almost like he was just hiding underneath the chair.
Yeah.
And he just stands up. I don't know. I thought that was a little silly. And then he goes after Paul and they fight and stuff like that. For what we see, because it is dark, we don't really see a good look at the fight, but it looks like basically Jason knocks out Paul, and then he goes after Jenny. He chases her to the bathroom, and she's all locked up in the bathroom, holding the door, and she's going to try to go out the window. And basically, she's just trying to like have the door shut, and then trying to like determine how fast she can get to the window. And right when she's about to let go of the door to get to the window, Jason's ran around the house, and now he's coming through the window. Great scene. Good. This is the stuff when Jason's chasing her. I do like this because it doesn't seem ridiculous. It doesn't seem supernatural. It seems like, okay, well, like these chase scenes make more sense. As the franchise got more, progressed, it's almost like Jason has this teleporting ability. Obviously, he's just a man running around in this one. I like that. It makes it feel more natural, more raw.
Yeah. So now, like Logan said, they're chasing each other, and so Jason gets into the bathroom, then they take it outside, and Jenny runs to her car to try to start it, but obviously she's been having car issues, and like every scary movie, the car's never going to work when you get into it. And because she has a soft top convertible bug, he just starts like stabbing the farm pitchfork through the soft top. And she ends up kind of escaping the car and running over to another girl's car, I think, or somebody's car.
She hides by the car or whatever to like.
Well, first off, she tries to get into it, but my thing is like, even if you got into it, you don't have the keys to it.
Yeah.
Maybe they left the keys in it. Nonetheless, it's locked, so no keys, no car.
Well, that's the one thing we were talking about. We were watching the movie. I'm like, there's always been this trope where like people go to a car and the keys are in the car at the on the sunroof or whatever, the visor. I don't know if that's something that people used to do back in the day. I didn't go around. I should have called my dad or my mom and asked, but it's a big trope.
I know, like before whenever I've needed to like leave my keys in my car, my dad just says put them under the passenger seat.
I just thought it was weird because like that's a big trope that happens a lot in movies and stuff like that. And it's
If
like,
anyone
is that a
knows where I
generational
live
thing?
and my car's unlocked, don't steal it.
I don't
The
think
keys might be under the passenger seat.
I don't think anyone wants to steal your car, but
No. They don't. I mean, they could, but they don't. Nonetheless, so she's running around and then she obviously like psychs him out in the easiest way. She's just crouched down in front of the car and he like runs past the car and then he stops for a second and looks like he's going to go towards the front of the car, but then keeps going.
Yeah. So then,
and then she just starts running around the woods like, you can't just run back up the path you came.
Well,
it's just a basic scary movie. They all do the same thing.
Well, they're just going. She's going basically from cabin to cabin to cabin, and then this is the one where she gets in the cabin before she gets a little bit head stop because at one point she was waiting for him to run by so she could hit him, and then so she could at least knock him down to get a little bit more.
Yeah, when she was hiding behind the trees and stuff.
So now she get a little bit more more of a leverage, a gap between the run or whatever, like him catching up with her. She gets into the cabin and she gets underneath the bed, and this is when all of a sudden a rat comes out of nowhere while he's so having there, and he sees.
I'm like, girl, you peed over the rat.
That's like so. A lot of people thought.
Or did you pee over Jason? Because don't pee over the rat. You have some bigger problems going on.
So a lot of people thought it was the rat peeing, which I was like, that's a lot of pee for a rat.
Yeah, no, it's her.
But the notes from the film. Like, because there's the notes for the day or whatever, and there's little notes, the directorial notes or whatever. It wrote that she pees.
Yeah.
What's called because they have like screenshots. I guess
you're so scared and stuff. It probably wasn't because of the rat.
But also, okay, first off, if you pee, it's not gonna. That's not. It's your pants are gonna absorb a lot of it. It's not just gonna be a pool underneath you. So I thought that was kind of
shorts though.
No, she was in pants. I'm sure she was. Why hell I don't know. No, it is pants because a little bit of her pants on her butt gets ripped a little bit when she jumps out the window.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's why the pee didn't get absorbed. Well, she's laying face down. I don't know. This is how people ruin movies. They look too far into them.
Well, that's what a podcast's for.
Yeah.
We have these conversations.
So then Ginny tries to attack Jason with a chainsaw, and it like kind of works. Like really, they're just like doing this cat and mouse chase thing where she like gets ahead of him or like gets him to slow down a little bit, but then he catches up to her, and then she runs into the woods. And unfortunately finds the shed where the cop found too and died. She finds this shed, and then she also finds his shrine of murdered people, including her friends.
Yeah. Do we bring up the cop
head
running into the woods after Jason? We might have skimmed over that.
No, we skipped over that. Yeah. So earlier, when the cop's leaving the camp, he sees someone run across, and he thinks that's Jason. So he chases him through the woods, finds this like abandoned shed thing, goes into it, and then gets killed by Jason.
Well, I don't think he thinks I think he just thinks it's another person from the camp trying to check things out.
That's an abandoned shed.
You said, you said, no, he's not. I don't think he thinks it's Jason at all.
He's just chasing somebody.
Yeah. That kill was a little edited. I mean, mainly most of it was there.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So Ginny finds the same shed. Then she finds, or Jason's shack. She also finds his shrine of dead people, including his mother's head. So she's freaked out, and then she also starts to hear Jason coming back.
It's really cool too. If you pause this scene and look at all the, you even got Alice is there. She's like completely just rotted and stuff like that. But everybody else who's been killed is there. It's a really cool scene. I wish they would have lingered a little bit more on it because it's pretty fucked up once you look at it. Yeah, he's basically got a shrine of his mom's dead head in her sweater.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell he got that because I'm sure her body was taken away unless he found where her grave was and okay, I guess that he could have done that. He could have found where her grave was and dug it up.
Yeah. So she puts on the sweater. And now this is where like the psychology major kind of kicks in and her understanding or belief of why Jason is trying to get revenge. So Jason breaks in and she decides to start talking to Jason like she is his mother.
And it's pretty cool. So like,
I loved this part.
It's pretty cool because the stunt man did a great job. Steve did a great job with this when he does a slight head tilt and stuff like that. This scene's really, really cool.
And you also get this weird editing where it like switches to Mrs. Voorhees when she was alive.
Yeah, she's came back for this.
But then it's also, you can see Ginny's face in the background, and you get a lot of like fading in, fading out between Ginny and Mrs. Voorhees.
So when they originally cut this scene, sorry, not cut, shot this scene, Ginny was doing a lot of her own stunts, and they had a real machete, and he had, and the stuntman had a real pitchfork.
Mm-hmm.
Not pitchfork. What is that thing?
Pitchfork.
No, it's the rock one where you, is that pitchfork? No.
Oh, like that thing?
Yeah. What is that?
I don't know.
Whatever. He's got that thing.
Yeah.
And she goes to hit him with the machete.
Yeah.
One of the takes, she came down too fast while his arms was like this.
Yeah.
He hadn't brought it up yet. So he was supposed to bring it up just in time for the machete to come down, which the scene we got. But she actually came down and cut his middle finger, and he actually had to leave and get stitches and stuff like that. And apparently, she said he was nothing but the nicest person about it. He was like, "It happens. That's what I'm a stuntman. This stuff happens. Don't worry about it. You just timing was. You just
how it's chopped off my finger."
And when he went to the emergency room to get the stitches, I guess they went and cut shot the other scene that we're going to get to with the machete in his shoulder. So apparently he wore the prosthetic too there. And he walks in saying like, he's like, "Hey, do y'all have something for a headache?" He was like playing a joke on everything. That's funny. That's something my dad would do.
Yeah. So she ends up smacking Jason with the machete, but he also tries to get her with the pick. It's a pick.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And this is when Paul like suddenly shows up and now like is awake from his little knockout slumber and starts fighting again with Jason, trying to disarm him. And they ended up, knocking Jason out, or what they think is killing him. I don't know what they thought they did. But Paul carries Ginny back to the cabin.
Well, so this is the scene where she hits him with the machete.
Yeah.
So while he is fighting with Paul, she's behind him, hits him with the machete that goes through his side. That would have been really cool. I mean, mind you, like this is an older figure. I don't think the newer figure has it, but that'd be really cool if there was a version of the figure where you could put the machete through the shoulder. Yeah. I don't think the new one I think came out in 2021 or whatever. I can't remember the year the new one came out. That's more posable than this one. That would be pretty cool if you could put the machete in his shoulder. But yes, Paul carries her back to the cabin. Yeah.
So they are all locked up in the cabin now, trying to figure out what to do and trying to calm down. And they hear jingling outside, and Muffin shows up to the cabin door. And as that's happening, Jason jumps through the window, just like he jumped up in the boat with Alice, and attacks Ginny, essentially. So first they gear up because they think he's going to come through the front door, so they're all ready with the pitchfork. But then Muffin is a distraction. Unfortunately, or fortunately, Ginny wakes up and is being loaded into the ambulance.
I will say.
Ambulance.
Ambulance.
What is that TikTok again to the song?
Back Betty, ambulance. Back Betty, ambulance.
Gets me every time.
It's the, if you don't know what we're referring to, it's the old video of the 60-something-year-old man who beat the shit out of the guy on the bus who was like being really rude to some people. So this old man beats the crap out of this one dude. And he's sitting there and caught on film, he was like, "Somebody call an ambulance."
Yeah. And then people remix it to Black Betty.
That's something that we do a lot. Yeah. Every time there's ambulance, it's just ambulance.
Yeah.
If you're older than the age of 30, you probably know what I'm talking about.
But yeah, so Ginny gets taken away in the ambulance, and essentially it was all a dream, which means Muffin did die.
Yeah. Muffin did die.
I did.
Oh, that's what you said.
Muffin did die.
Yeah. So that's the thing is like, because we were thinking about like,
we unraveled this over like a day or two.
Yeah, we're trying to like, okay, what happened here? Okay, so let's say, let's say, so he comes in, okay, and we're trying to think of how could this be a dream and not be a dream at the same time? All right. And my thought process, if it's not a dream, the only thing that I came up with is he breaks through the window. He goes to attack.
Yeah, because my thing is, if it's not a dream, he would have killed her. He grabbed onto her. She would have been dead.
Well, here
He wouldn't just save her.
if you didn't want to
And been like,
interrupt me,
night,
if
Jimmy.
you want to interrupt me, I was about to give you my
Go
idea
ahead,
of what
but I was
happened.
explaining what I thought happened.
I
I was interrupting to explain what I thought happened.
So what I think, I'll say, my thought process. Okay, he breaks through. He goes to attack her. Paul, okay, defends him off, and I'm guessing maybe the brute force of him coming through maybe hits Jenny, knocks her out. Him and Paul fight each other to the point where I'm guessing
They both die.
not they both die, but he is. Well, he's not dead. He's not dead because he comes back in 3.
Obviously.
But my thought process is like, okay, he's wounded so much from the machete, instead of going back to the cabin after their fight, because let's just say this goes off somewhere.
Or he thinks she's dead.
Something like that. Mind you, he is not a very smart individual. So like something happens between him and Paul.
With
And
his
that's
one eye.
why when he what?
I'll hold the question. Go ahead.
That's
Light
why when we go back to the morning and she's taken away in the ambulance and she's coming to, that's why Paul's nowhere to be found, because he defended her while she was knocked out.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of might have happened.
I can get with that.
And I mean, it could have happened. You know what I
I
mean?
think he just maybe thought she was dead.
I mean, but that's part of it.
Or maybe she faked dead.
I mean, that's a part of it or something like that. But like, I do feel like maybe she did get a concussion from the attack, and that's
Yeah.
why she can't remember what happened.
Yeah.
So I do think there is a possibility that this isn't a dream.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not reaching.
It's definitely not all a dream.
Yeah, we're not reaching for the stars here, and we're trying to pull something that doesn't exist. This is very plausible, I do think. So
my light bulb was, so he has one eye, and
Yes.
then somehow he evolves and has a mask with 2 eyes. So where did he get his eyeball back?
Well, he still has. Yeah, he has a mask with 2 eyes because it's a hockey mask. He steals this off from when the character's in the 3rd film,
okay.
and then wears it for the rest of the movie. And yes, he does get an eye eventually because this one has he's got 2 eyes.
Gotcha. He evolves. Good for him.
Well, like I said, his face
We
is
love
the
an
continuity in his face is very different. Mind you, this is
Yeah.
the 4th film. It's not the 3rd one.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's all that happened in this one. So Logan kind of already said, do you want to go first or me? I don't know who went first last time.
I don't care. I think I asked you. Yeah, so I'll go first this time. So my
Keep it short.
my final thoughts were, I like it.
Yeah.
Are there things wrong with it? Yes. Even if you add these scenes that were cut, it still doesn't hit as hard as the first one.
Yeah.
And then the third one's just so much better than this one.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to think that the second one's better. And it didn't, I believe if the second one didn't make as much money as the first one. It did well, but
Yeah.
it didn't make as much money as the first one. But it made enough money for them to make a third one, and then they just keep on going.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, when it comes to our generation movies that we watched, the franchise that, based off of when we grew up, the only franchise I can think that can hold up to the Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, as far as like we watched the first one into the last one, is the Saw franchise. There's no
Yeah.
other franchise that is as prominent
So.
as, making 10 something films.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no other franchise that we would know that we've stopped from day
Yeah.
one other than the Saw franchise. And those just got more ridiculous and dumb as the ones
Yeah.
went on. Same thing as Friday 13th. And it does suck because,
Well, how many Friday the 13th are there?
well, there's 10. And then there's the remake and the Freddy vs.
Oh.
Jason. So if you want to count 12 total, if
Okay.
it depends on how you count Freddy versus
And
Jason.
Scream's on 7?
6.
6.
Yeah, they're making 7.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what I meant. They're on 7.
Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest, it is good. There's a lot of good things going on here. Like I said, even if you add the cut scenes back, it doesn't save the film.
Yeah.
It just seems, and it's not a directing problem because I think the movie was very well shot. It's a story problem with me. I think that, and I'm not saying the first one had a better story. It's just the way the story is told and the scenes that we got weren't as heavy it wasn't as heavy of a driving force to make me like this film more. Maybe if the kills were completely different and much better, would this be? Maybe that would have been better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This one, in theory, like it's not really as scary as the first one either. I don't think so. It's like I said, it's still good, but I definitely think the first one is far more superior.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Not as much as yours. Yeah, so I will say in Friday the 13th Part 2, I really like Jenny out of all the characters from 1 and 2.
Jenny's a great character. I think Jenny is a better character than Alice.
Yeah.
Hands down.
She's very pretty. I like her personality. I like the whole psychology aspect to it. I like how she truly does try to see things from a serial killer's lens, which is something different than they did in the first one. Obviously, the first one wasn't about Jason. It was more about his mother and her revenge. But Ginny tries to see from both sides of it. I will say that the first one definitely had more like scares, quote unquote.
It's more suspenseful.
Yes, it's definitely more suspenseful. There was more moments where I was like on edge in the first one than in the second one. The second one was very straightforward, and I do feel like the kills were like pretty dull. And even like the big scene where they're chasing each other, that felt much more dull than the scene where Alice and Miss Voorhees are getting into it.
So one thing I don't think I brought it up, but the one thing is when they're chasing each other, I really like how they set up the angles perfectly where you actually see Jason run through the windows.
No, you do get like the cat and mouse chase.
I like that. Yes, it's not scary.
Yeah.
Could it be more suspenseful? Yeah, it could have probably been shot in a little bit more of a suspenseful way.
Now, I will say, it's my turn.
Hey, you interrupt me so much.
I will say, though, like the standoff between Jason and Ginny is much, much better than the standoff between Alice and Miss Voorhees. Like, where Miss Voorhees, like, is explaining, you know, they killed my son. They were too busy doing this. They were too busy doing that. That was kind of like, okay, lady, but like Alice has nothing to do with this.
And all that comes out of left ball field because this is a brand new character that just randomly shows up.
Yeah. And then, like I said, not only that, but it has nothing to do with Alice. This removes Ginny from the situation and makes it more just Jason and Miss Voorhees.
Yeah.
Voorhees. Although it is Ginny, you know, posing as her.
Yeah.
It is definitely a different, like, psychological standpoint, which I don't like gore, but I do like mind games.
Yeah. No, you have a lot of good valid points, really. I really think, I mean, like, I think.
That's all I have to say.
I mean, no, really.
Oh, wait, I didn't even really say which one's better. I would say part 2 is, I don't know, really like 50-50. They both have like good parts.
To be honest, it sounds like you like 2 more.
I do, but I don't. I don't know.
You got to pick one. Gun to the head.
No. First off, no. I would say probably, I don't know. I really don't. I guess 2.
I mean, it's fine.
I like the end of 2. I literally only like the end of 2.
Mm-hmm.
I like everything, but don't really care for the end of 1.
Got it.
All right. If I could take the beginning, if I could intermingle them a little bit, then yeah.
So yeah, let's just say if 1 had the ending of 2, and this whole entire time it was Jason.
Yeah, like if they did a little bit, if they just like removed Miss Voorhees, which I do see the point, and I'm not saying there's no point in it, but they still kept that like psychological play in it, and they had Ginny in 1, then yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. That's it. We'll just write that movie.
Yeah. And then he has muffins, which he doesn't kill. And it's his little pet killer dog.
Oh man. That is I don't think it has been done, and that would be great to see that in a film. Don't steal it. I'll write it into something.
I already ran
you
off
already
and
said
said
that,
I'll trademark it.
Yeah. TM.
Yeah.
Video Villa Entertainment.
Yeah.
TM.
There we go.
Idea.
But yeah, so that is our episode 2 of May There Be a Sequel, total of episode 36. We are excited to announce for our next episode, I won't be here.
You're excited to announce that?
Yes. It's one less thing I have to do. But who will be joining us is Flicks and Friends podcast. So that will be when are we launching that?
I'm going to do one more extra. So like it'll come out the week after this one.
Yeah. So yeah, we're excited to have other people join us, and who knows what that one will be about. That is a surprise. And
it's a movie we've already done.
Yeah.
And it will be the sequel, a direct sequel of a movie we have already done. So if you have a guess, you can put it in the comments.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is how we feel about Friday the 13th. Still don't even really know if there's a straight answer. But yeah.
Yeah, and then if this is the first time you finding us, welcome. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. If you would like to come back for more future episodes or look at the ones that we've already shot, we greatly appreciate that. For the newcomers, like I said, welcome. For the people who have returned, welcome back. Glad to see you guys.
Yeah, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. Like Logan said, I think you said leave a review.
Oh yeah, you leave a review on any of your podcasting apps if you're choosing. That really helps us. Basically, what it does is it helps new people find us that didn't know about us.
Yeah.
And we can just like build this fan base of people just being able to sit back and reminisce in movies that they enjoy. And talk completely without any judgment. And, as if you can tell, if you're into the show, someone always has a very high opinion of what she thinks about the movies I pick.
Say, who doesn't judge? So...
Yeah, we also got a website.
Yes. So check it out there shortly. We do have intentions to launch some merch, so keep your eyes out for that. We're really excited for what's to come in that department.
www.videovillaentertainment.com.
Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time.